Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at some techs. Some tech cards that were played at the Pokemon Trading Card Game World Championships. And these weren't cards that made or broke the decks, not in every matchup, but they were popped in, and some of them we maybe weren't expecting. So if we start off in fire decks, there were a few techs that we did see popping up in these fire decks. Pretty much, well, there were two ways to play fire decks. One was with Green's Exploration, and the other one was with Ninetales. Well, you played abilities, but if you played abilities, you played Ninetales. This is the one from Team Up. You discard 2 fire energy from your hand, and it's a gusting effect. Everyone else was playing Custom Catcher. Didn't really have much of a choice, unfortunately. Here, you could use Ninetales as a really good gusting option. No getting 2 item cards in your hand at the same time or any of that rubbish. No, ladies and gentlemen, all you needed to do was have a little bit of a play with Ninetales. We also saw some fire decks, but not all, playing Victini Prism Star. I've been advocating for Victini Prism Star since this card was released. For 2 fire energy, you do 20 damage for each basic energy in your discard pile and then shuffle them into your deck. With enough energy in the discard, you can be one-hit KOing Tag Team GXs. That's ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely ridiculous. Also, not to be mean, of course, but Tord Reklev played it in his deck. Do you think you're better than Tord? Putting that one out there. The other card that we saw played here was Heatran GX, and this wasn't just in Reshiram and Charizard decks. This was in Blacephalon decks, and even made its way into some Mewtwo and Mew decks. It's got an ability whereby when you move it in the active, you can move as much fire energy over as you like, and then you can hit 130 for free energy, or you can do 50 damage times the amount of energy that is on it. So we saw some big surprise KOs taken with this over the weekend. Now, moving into Mewtwo and Mew decks, it's very awkward to see what's a tech and what isn't. Something like Latios GX was absolutely brilliant all weekend, but it didn't really strike me as a tech so much as a real pillar of the deck, blocking Tag Team GXs, so I don't think that really counts. But one great tech we did see in some Mewtwo and Mew decks was the Greninja GX from Forbidden Light. Greninja GX has a really nice attack, Miss Slash, which does 130 damage, but more importantly, shuffles it into your deck. That's kind of cool, ladies and gentlemen. That's kind of cool. As a little bit of a side note here, it's called Haze Slash. It only does 110 damage, but the Greninja from Unbroken Bonds does have Miss Slash, although to be fair, that also doesn't do 130, that does 70. You know what I mean. With a Tag Team GX giving up free prizes, it's really nice to have an option to get it off the field so that you're not giving up those prizes. That's pretty gosh darned important. It's a good card. Didn't see play in the deck that won, or indeed the other deck that made it into Top Cut, but it did see a bit of play, and I did love it very much indeed. One card we did see in a couple of decks was actually Persian, of all things. Not Persian GX. Persian GX is a good card. We've all been playing Persian GX for a little while. Everybody knows that card is good. No. I'm talking about the Persian that came around in Team Up. And for 1 colorless energy, it's got Make 'em Pay. If your opponent has 4 or more cards in hand, they reveal their hand, and you discard cards until they've only got 4 left in their hand. This was amazing. This was played in stall decks where you would block your opponent, Caldeo GX decks for instance, and they would struggle to attack you, so they'd end up with a large hand of cards, and then all of a sudden you drop a Persian and your opponent would just be like, well, now what am I supposed to do? You've got rid of all the cards from my deck. And that's what I like so much about it. It really was Yeah, really was kind of cool. Now, one tech that made its way into a huge amount of decks is Hoopa. Hoopa popped up everywhere over Worlds, ladies and gentlemen. One colourless energy does 10 damage plus 20 more for each Pokemon your opponent has in play with an ability. A lot of the time, you end up just doing 130 for a single energy. It's very efficient damage, and we're in a really ability-heavy format at the moment. We saw this hitting 130 over the weekend, really kind of weirdly often. Now, one tech we did see popping up in Dark Box decks, and admittedly, there weren't all that many Dark Box decks around at the weekend, but we saw Darkrai Prism Star. Darkrai Prism Star's got a great ability, whereby when you bench it, you get to bench it with 2 extra darkness energy attached. But now that we've got Weavile GX, you can move that energy around anywhere you like. And I know that that's not the only energy acceleration those decks have got. They generally play Naganadel, which accelerates energy to itself, ready to be moved over with Weavile. And of course, because you're playing Naganadel, that opens up a great combo there with Beast Ring, letting you search a deck for 2 basic energy and attach them to one of your Pokemon that's an Ultra Beast, like Naganadel. So it wasn't like Darkrai was the only way to get the energy on. Darkrai was just a really good way to get 2 extra energy. It's not a particularly good attacker, and yes, after you've used it, it takes up a bench space. Pretty good nonetheless. We could as well imagine people playing Super Scoop Up with this, and Super Scoop Up, incidentally, was one of the trainer cards that did see a lot more play at Worlds post-rotation than pre-Worlds pre-rotation. And you can use Super Scoop Up if you hit a heads to pick up Darkrai and play it back down with another 2 energy. And the last couple Pokemon I want to shout out here were Psychic Pokemon that we did actually see played in a number of decks. We saw them in some Malamar decks, but we also saw them in some Blacephalon decks because they were played with Naganadel. And they were Sableye and Esper. Now, if we start off with Sableye here, on the one hand, you've got a single psychic energy, put 3 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way that you like. That's fine, but there are a whole bunch of people playing Mew. Like, Mew was really widely played at Worlds. And Mew's got an ability that prevents your bench damage being hit by attacks, and has the same attack but for a colourless energy. Now, admittedly, against some decks you don't want to put Mew in harm's way. If you're staring down the new Naganadel GX, you certainly don't want to get your Mew KO'd, because it hits 170 to the bench. But outside of that, it's largely the same. But it's really the first attack on Sableye which took me by surprise of how good it could be. 1 colourless energy. If you go first, you can use this attack on your first turn, search your deck for a card and put it into your hand. But you see, decks like Malamar and Naganadel, they take a turn to get going. It's kind of difficult for them to get rolling straight away. So they don't always have a good turn 1 option. So why not use Sableye? Grab yourself that 1 perfect card for next turn. Maybe you're grabbing yourself a Naganadel. Maybe you're grabbing yourself that triple acceleration energy that would otherwise be very difficult to search out. Or that 1 per deck beast energy, for instance. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that we always need more cards unless we've got game in hand. And this just let you do it while giving you a really nice turn 1 option. Sableye was fun. And then we saw Esper seeing a little bit of love, and Esper again was an awful lot of fun. Esper's got an ability for 1 psychic, 2 colourless energy that does 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each damage counter on that Pokemon. The thing is, this is a non-GX single prize Pokemon. So look, obviously if you're playing a new Naganadel and you just hit 170 to the bench, this will hit 340 and just absolutely wreck. But also, let's say you hit 170 to the bench, your opponent plays a double mixed herbs, so that they take 9 damage counters away, And now they've only got 80 damage on, and then 170 puts them up to 250, which is enough to KO something like a Pikachu and Zekrom. But Esper can take that KO. And if Esper takes that KO, you don't need to put Naganadel in the firing line. That's what I like about this so gosh darned much. And then, of course, you've got the combo here with Espeon and Deoxys. Espeon and Deoxys has a GX attack that drops 10 damage counters anywhere you like, or if you can get enough energy on there, it actually drops 20 damage counters. So you drop them so that Esper can then finish up and take the KOs. Some of these cards we really expected to see at Worlds, some of them far less so. But all of them made their way into decks that were played at Worlds, and played a fair amount at Worlds. And all of them deserve our consideration, because remember, the format after Worlds is the same as the format at Worlds. So this is what we're going to be playing with for the next couple of months. But I'd like to know which text on this list you like, which ones you saw coming, which one surprised you. So go nuts in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.